My name is retrogaming Goose, and today we're going to be talking about really weird Game Boy Advance games from my childhood that I feel like no one ever really played. I don't know why I'm making this video because I don't think anyone else is going to talk about this or know any of these games. Anyway, let's get into the video. Honestly, I did really sort of and about whether or not to make this video, and especially to make such a long video about this sort of stuff. But I thought if you're not going to take a chance of making a video of a game, like games that you played when you were younger, and not try and find some sort of audience or some sort of like someone else that's played these games. So I feel like no one ever talks about these games. So yeah, we're just going to go into each of them now. First off, we are going to talk about But Ugly Martians on the Game Boy Advance.
So first off, I just want to say that all of this footage that I've captured is just going to be the raw footage because Game Boy Advance games do not have a lot to offer in terms of like what's going on. So yeah, and also just to let you know, I've captured all of these games using the Game Boy adapter for the GameCube. So I didn't want to use an emulator. I've got the actual stuff to do it. I've got the physical games, so I thought I'll just go through it. So everything you're seeing is exactly what's on the cart from the start of the game. There's no spoilers in any of this, so yeah, we're just going to get into it. So, But Ugly Martians BKM Battles, what is just a mouthful of a name, was released in 2002 for the Game Boy Advance. It was developed by Runecraft Limited and published by Vivendi Universal. So I got that wrong. Apparently I can't even read my own notes, but and it's just such a strange game. It's like a weird free flying shooter. As a kid it really reminded me of Echo the Dolphin. I don't know why. Maybe it's just like the same sort of game mechanic, being able to move around. But basically you fly around the map, you gotta shoot stuff, you gotta find keys and destroy turrets and enemies. You can upgrade weapons, you can upgrade armor, and there's just a load of other stuff as well. There's a boss at the end of each level. There's only 7 levels in this game. If you look up a YouTube long play, the long play is about 20 minutes, so that's the kind of caliber of game we're dealing with. It has little to no replayability. Once you've done the game, you can find some stuff, but it's all very easy to find it on the first playthrough. And this is one of them Game Boy Advance games that I just had. Like, I don't ever remember buying this. It's not something I would buy. It's like, if you know the term cousin game, that's pretty much it. I have no idea why this is in my collection. I don't know if I stole it from someone. I don't know if it was just given to me. But I used to play this quite a bit. For some reason in my head, I don't know whether it's because of what the Martians look like, but I thought this was a game to do with Mars Attacks. Like, I thought this was like the game of Mars Attacks. It has absolutely nothing to do with Mars Attacks whatsoever. And this is basically all of the gameplay of every level. Just flying around, being able to machine gun turrets. It looks alright. The graphics are pretty good for a GBA game. An early 2002 GBA game as well. And the soundtrack is pretty strange. Really reminds me of like Matrix Reloaded, because that was of the era. It was the style at the time. Now, one of the most interesting things about this game is throughout the game there are 5 hidden coloured gems that can be collected that unlocks content for But Ugly Martians, Zoom or Doom for the Nintendo GameCube, because you can hook this up through the Game Boy adapter and apparently it meshes with the GameCube game. I had absolutely no idea about that when I was a kid, and like, I only read about that when I was playing, and well, when I was doing research for this video. So it does kind of make me realize that this is a mini game that they sold as a full game, because the actual game's a GameCube game. But if you were a fan of this game, I would be absolutely fascinated to hear from you, because I have no idea anyone else ever played this game or the GameCube game. So let me know. I need to speak to someone that remembers this game. There's not much more I can really say about it, because I think it was one of them sort of one and done. I completed it when I was a kid. I didn't know there was a GameCube adaptation, so I just completed it and never played it again.
Next up, we're going to talk about Scooby-Doo, the Cyber Chase.
So Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase is a Scooby-Doo game tied into the movie of the same name. It was released in 2001 on the Game Boy Advance and the PlayStation 2. Weirdly enough, the PlayStation 2 version is in the Greatest Hits, published by THQ and developed by Software Creations for the Game Boy. This is one of them games that even to this day I hate with a passion. I still have no idea what's going on in this game, how to play this game, and how to win, and that really frustrates me. As a kid, I was clearly too dense to understand what was going on, or to even understand how to play this game. I think it's a platformer, but I'm not sure, and the music just frustrates me so much. Like, I hate it, because it's a constant loop of the same Scooby-Doo theme that would just go on and on and on and never stop. So this is one of the few games that if you played this, you also went through absolute torture as a child.
Now, the next game is one of these games I just played so much of when I was younger. Like, I don't know why. I think I had this with my original Game Boy Advance, and that is GT Championship.
So the actual name of this game is GT Advanced Championship Racing, but it's known in Japan as Advanced GT. Developed by MTO and published by THQ, because we love letters. It was actually a launch title for the Game Boy Advance, so it's probably why I had this game. GT Advance featured 45 licensed Japanese cars and places the players could race. And I think I just fucking loved this game. I don't know why. Like, they say, like, as a kid, I just was fascinated by this game. I've never been a racing person. I like Mario Kart. That's as close as I get to a racer. There you go. That's how you know I was playing it on the GameCube. But this game is so nice to play again. And one of my favourite features is the builder course. Not enough racing games have this. I don't know whether it's because this game is quite arcadey, because it's limited by the actual like capability of the console, but it is just such a fun game to play. It was so nice to go back to a game that I played so much as a kid and it still be a good game. I feel like nostalgia ruins a lot of games as an adult, but this one I can honestly say does not. It is still a fantastic game to play. One of the best on the GBA.
Oh, damn. Right, well, I just found my a random box that has my original Game Boy in it. My original Game Boy Advance. Oh, check this out. Check this bad boy out. This is a very broken original Game Boy Advance. I don't know how many people know that this is what they used to look like before the SP. But yeah, it's so color degraded. I played all of Pokemon Emerald on this game. Like, also, if you're part, if this bit of the video, this part of the video is already halfway through the video or whatever, there's not going to be any Pokemon games on this list because this is just games that are shit, essentially. But yeah, this is my original Game Boy Advance. I spent fucking hours on this thing. It's so degraded by color and like sunlight. All the adapters that went through it as well. Oh, it's missing the back. I think everyone at some point was missing the back. But yeah, that's my original Game Boy Advance. So this is another game that I do actually want to talk about. I played it so much as a kid, and I've seen some videos online of people talking about this game. But that is The Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers on the Game Boy Advance. As you can see, my Lord of the Rings tattoo is right there. So that's how much of a fan I am of Lord of the Rings.
I don't think I've ever been hit with such a wave of nostalgia than I have been from playing this game. And now this game is completely different to the PlayStation version of this game. The hack and slash, most people know, is replaced by a Diablo clone. Diablo clone. And you get this glorious PNG GIF rendition of the Lord of the Rings just there. This game sort of starts with Aragorn. If you pick Aragorn, you also get to play as a bunch of other characters like Legolas, Gimli, Gandalf, Eowyn. I was completely obsessed with Lord of the Rings as a kid. I got into Warhammer through the Middle Earth Battle strategy game, which came out in like magazines. It was Lord of the Rings, and you just got basically a character every week in the magazine. You painted it. Anyway, obsessed with Lord of the Rings. Used to have the toys, posters, everything, and that's probably why I've got so many Lord of the Rings tattoos. Now, this game on the GBA was so incredibly hard, but I loved every second of it. I actually think this is better than the hack and slash game, but I think that might just be because the hack and slash is sort of not aged as well. This game is what got me into Diablo, because everyone said Diablo is a good game. It is very similar, so I gave Diablo 2 a go based off playing this game. And going back to it, playing it again now, it is very much Diablo for kids. I'm going to apologise for how many different times and different ways I say Diablo. I don't care how I say it, I'm just going to do whatever. Now, the only information that I can find about the development of this game online was that it was developed by Kryptonite Games. I don't really know much more about that. Every single review I seem to be able to find online as well just talks about the console games, so I don't know why everyone's forgotten about this game, because I honestly think it's better. Like, it's more fun, it's more like engaging. You have to sort of like get over the Game Boy Advance jank of this game. I might be looking at this through nostalgia, if I'm honest, but I still love this game. This reminds me so much of like the Harry Potter games that were on the Game Boy. Were just elite. They were so good compared to like other games, but I mean other Harry Potter games on other platforms. Now, if I remember correctly, depending on the character that you pick in this game massively affects the story of the game. So I'm pretty sure like Aragorn, Legolas and Gimli, they end up going off to do their side of the story. If you pick Frodo, he does his like separating pathway. Same with Gandalf, same with Eowyn. I just think some of the artwork in this game, like look at that head. That looks amazing for a Game Boy Advance game. I just think it's a charming, nice Diablo clone. Fun for everyone, and I'm sure other people played this game, but every time I bring it up, people only ever talk about the console ports, they never talk about the Game Boy Advance version. So please let me know in the comments if you played this game or remember anything to do with this game. I would be absolutely fascinated to talk to anyone about this and just share memories of the different levels, bosses and creatures in this game, and whether it was actually easy or hard, or if I was just a child and didn't know what was going on. God, all the sound effects in this game are just itching childhood memories.
This is a really weird game. I don't know where I got this one from at all. That is Star X. I've just had this game, and playing it is just weird.
Star X is a rail shooter video game developed by Graphic State and published by BAM Entertainment for the Game Boy Advance, and was released in 2002, I think. Now, the first thing for any Nintendo fan that is very, very obvious is this is clearly trying to rip off Star Fox, and yeah, it's Star Fox. It's exactly like Star Fox, particularly Star Fox Lilac Wars, whatever you want to call it. It's particularly the one that is on the SNES with the FX graphics chip. That's the kind of style that they're going for with this, except for with the GBA, the controls aren't really there. It's very hard to actually hit stuff because of the way the Game Boy controller works, I guess. I honestly couldn't tell you what the story is in this game other than shoot down all of the enemies and I guess that's it. Like, I don't really know what else I can really say. I played this quite a bit as a kid because I was obsessed with Star Fox, and I do plan to do a whole Star Fox video very soon. I mean, I've done one before, but I mean like a proper deep dive video into Star Fox, because Star Fox is just one of them games that I adore. Like, I love the Star Fox franchise, and I wish there was more of them. I really do. So as a kid, I just had to pretend that this was a Star Fox game, and that was the most entertaining thing about it. Like, I don't think anyone else was ever playing this game. I don't even remember where I got it from. Like I said earlier, it just appeared in my collection. I feel like there's a few games that just appear in your collection over time, and then you're not quite sure how, why, or when they appeared. I mean, it's a perfectly playable game. Reviews at the time when this came out gave it sort of like 6 out of 10, and I'd say, yeah, it's a 6 out of 10. It's a good game to pretend you're playing Star Fox 2. There you go. That's my final opinion on this. Just pretend it's Star Fox and it's fine.
Genuinely think are really underrated and not enough people played it. I've done a video on this before, and I'm talking about, this was years ago, probably one of the first videos I ever put out on this channel, and it had no sound because I didn't know how to import sound properly from the capture card I was using. It's a long story, but anyway, yeah, the Scorpion King Sword of Osiris. What a game.
The Scorpion King Sword of Osiris is a platformer developed by WayForward Technologies and published by Universal Interactive. It is based kind of on the Scorpion King. It's kind of a sequel, but then we got a sequel film, so I guess it's a retconned sequel. Basically, it follows on from the first movie and is just such a weirdly charming game. Like, I love this game. I think it's really fun. Like, I don't know why, it's looks like such a crap tie-in game, but honestly, hours and hours of entertainment in this game. The plot is pretty entertaining, pretty straightforward. So basically, after the events of the Scorpion King movie, this wizard called Menthu, who's the guy that's beating up that woman at the moment on the screen, and by that woman I mean Cassandra, your partner, wife, mistress, sorceress, I don't know. Sorceress Bride, she's listed as. Basically, he kidnaps her, and it's up to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Scorpion King, to basically hunt him down, get your wife back. Simple story. Can't really go wrong with that, can you? Now, weirdly enough, out of all of these games, this actually scored pretty high in reviews, getting like 72 out of 100, sort of mixed average reviews, but genuinely 9 out of 10s from GameZone, 8 out of 10 from IGN, GameSpot 8 out of 10. Like, it was well reviewed. It just didn't sell. I guess probably because it's a Dwayne Johnson property and it's a tie-in to a film that I don't think many people actually really cared about. Like, everyone loves The Mummy and the Mummy franchise, but I can't really think of many people that went on to watch all of the Scorpion King films. I think the first one's alright, but I don't know about the rest of them. But this was one of them games for me that I completed quite a lot as a kid, and it was my go-to, like, long journey game. Before Pokemon came out, obviously. This was my go-to long journey game on when I had to go to, like, my cousin's house. They used to live quite far away, so this would be the game that I would play in the car down to my cousin's. Pure nostalgia playing this game again. It is so fun. Also, the controls are a lot more trickier than I remember them being, and I still think the sprite work and animation in this game, sorry, everyone's just gonna have to watch me struggle to do this very basic platforming ability at the moment, because you know, I'm an idiot, and yeah. But yeah, I think the sprite work in this game, just the general graphics look incredible for what they are. For a Game Boy Advance game, I think this just looks so nice, so charming. God, I'm getting really frustrated watching my own capture footage there. I like that there's like these thief characters that you see quite often in this game. I also love that, like, JPEG picture of that bit crush picture of The Rock. Just makes me laugh. But yeah, there's these characters that I like, the model work and graphic sprite work, whatever you want to call it, I think looks really cool. Like, just there, like, as he's standing idle, you can see the character breathing, you can see his hair flowing in the wind. I don't know if it's like intentional that it's flowing the same way as the clouds in the background. Maybe I'm looking too much into that, but yeah, it just looks in general so nice. Such a fun little game. There's these characters, I'll go back to it now. These characters, these thief characters, which are like these big fat men. And once you hit them once, they try and run away from you. And it's just such a nice little animation that you get in the game. I'm just going to let it sort of roll on with its with this stock footage, because I captured quite a bit of it and I just want to talk about it, and I can't bother to edit it down any further than I have. Plus, if you've made it to this point in the video, you clearly like me talking, so you put up with me. Obviously, being a Game Boy Advance game, there was no memory card. It was just passwords like that. Now I feel like this is more representative of the actual levels in the game. When you're running along, you're slashing, there's just all these like monsters coming out at you, and you just got to get through everything just to get to the end of the level. Just keep going right and you'll win. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Volgag the Viking, if you've ever played that game. It was a Xbox title that came out. Now, these are the little fat bastards I was talking about. Look at him run. It was a Xbox title that came out, Xbox One title that came out sort of around the launch. It was one of the first games with gold sort of titles. But yeah, that has been me talking about the Scorpion King Sword of Osiris. I like this game a lot. Still like it now, unapologetically. Be interested to know if anyone else played this game or liked this game in any way. Let me know in the comments if you played this one. I will again talk about this all the time.
And the final game that we've got on here, I've got a bit of a backstory to this game. Now, I didn't actually have this game when I was younger, but what I did have was the Sega Saturn game. Guardian Heroes is my favourite Sega Saturn game and one of my favourite games of all time. And when I was probably at university, no, it was college. So when I was a little bit old, I'd left secondary school. The Game Boy Advance was no longer a thing. No, actually, tell a lie, it was the beginning of secondary school because the DS had just come out. And I was like one of the very few people that's still using a Game Boy to play Emerald, and everyone was playing Pearl. Anyway, I digress. But I found out that there was a sequel to Guardian Heroes called Advanced Guardian Heroes.
Advanced Guardian Heroes is a beat-em-up game that sort of was released by, well, developed by Treasure, who were the original like developers for the Sega Saturn one, and was released in 2004 for the Game Boy Advance. Now, this game is a direct sequel to Guardian Heroes on the Sega Saturn, but Sega, who own the original copyright for this game, they weren't interested in making a sequel, so Treasure, who are the original developers of the game, had to license their own property back from Sega so they could make this game, and it flopped hard. Like, it flopped really hard, which is such a shame, because I think this is one of the best looking Game Boy Advance games that's ever existed. Now, the plot is going to sound completely mental because you would have had to have played the first game, but it follows the events of the first game. The undead hero has now returned to rest, and the heroes were given the option of becoming Sky Spirits, perfect warriors. The group was divided. Half of them decided to join the Sky Spirit, the other half refused, and then it kind of became a civil war between the Guardian Hero group you play as in the first game. Years and years pass, and Xur returns, who resurrects Cannon, who's one of the evil mages in the first game, and uses the power of the Guardian Heroes to take over the world. There's like no resistance. However, they do manage to summon the undead hero once again, and a young soldier who you play as gives their life and becomes the new undead hero. At least I think that's what the story of this game is. It's quite complicated and it's very fast moving. What I found really interesting is that there's no like characters with weapons in this game. Everyone, like the two players you can play as being like the red guy or the blue guy, I didn't catch their names, are just like the monk class from D&D. They're just fighters punching shit. It's really cool. Now, the game received very mixed reviews, especially in Western countries where people did not sort of play the first game. However, most people did also praise the visual and gameplay, but criticised the complicated story and the game suffering from frame rate problems. I didn't really have any frame rate problems while I was capturing footage for this, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen, because there's probably way more like stuff, enemies on the screen later on in the game. Despite me just telling you the entire story, I did want to try and keep this relatively spoiler free, but there's only so much I can really say, because none of that made any sense to anyone. That's the problem with this game, is you've had to have played the first one to understand anything that's going on in this one. But just look how fluid this game is. It's so nice to play this game. Just think the sound effects sound really nice as well. Just everything just gels great. It's lovely to see these new sort of models back in the game again. There's new, well, I say new models, like old models revitalized. Just looks so nice. I like this art style that they're going with, where it's kind of like anime cartoony. It's very reminiscent of the first game, and even though I didn't play this game a lot as a kid, I know I would have fucking loved this. I was quite late to the game on this one, and I think it's fantastic. I think it's one of the best GBA games ever made. If you're a fan of the first game, I feel like if you've never played the first game, you'd have absolutely no idea what's going on, which is fair enough. Like, why did I just go from fighting a Cyclops to a giant robot? Don't question it, just punch it. Simple. Anyway, that's been me talking about Guardian Heroes. Moving on to the next game.
Now, I will admit there is one thing that I do have to say is, if I've planned out this video properly, I would have had a segment where I showed off my original Game Boy and said, there's not going to be any Pokemon games on this list, but I actually lie. Because a couple of years ago, I found out, I used to be really into Pokemon ROM hacks. And a few years ago, I found out that there was someone that put ROM hacks onto Game Boy Advance. So I just really want to talk about Pokemon Liquid Crystal. This, I've actually got a physical cartridge. The first time I've actually been able to show that off, of Pokemon Liquid Crystal, which is a ROM hack of a Pokemon game, like a remake of Pokemon Gold, Silver and Crystal.
I always find this so impressive that this just works on a Game Boy. Like I said, it's a ROM hack. It's a ROM hack that's been put into a physical cart, and I think that's really cool. But for people that don't know what this is at all, Pokemon Liquid Crystal is a ROM hack developed by Game Boy, for the Game Boy Advance system or emulator. It uses Fire Red as its base and is a complete Pokemon Crystal remake for, the original Game Boy Color Pokemon Crystal. It's just a complete remake using the GBA sort of the graphics engine, and it's fantastic. It's so good. It adds so much more into it, like you have a proper day and night cycle, which was missing from the GBA games, and it just adds so much more. You get to relive Johto and Kanto, like just them whole regions again. You get to experience the Orange Islands. There's updated graphics and maps, revamped battle scenarios, extra story. There's loads more to explore. You get to dive to the underground, which is this whole thing using the dive mechanic from sort of Ruby and Sapphire. There is an advanced version of the Vividian Trainer House, which is really fun. It's like a gauntlet challenge. A complete remastered soundtrack, updated battle mechanics, so there is the special physical split in this game, real weather conditions like you got in GBA game, or the GBA sort of Emerald, Crystal, Ruby, and tons of additional features like being able to re-battle gym leaders, berries regrowing, which is really helpful, multiple evil teams and rivals to play against as well. So it's not just Team Rocket, there's other people in this as well. Honestly, there's not really much more I can really say about this, but if you want to play this game, you can download the emulator for it. It's very easy to come by, and I would say is one of the best GBA games, or GBA games in general ever. I know it's not one that I played as a kid, it's just one I want to talk about, and partly because I wanted to show off that I had a physical copy of it. Go and play this game if you are a Pokemon fan, a true Pokemon fan, because it is one of the best Pokemon games ever made. It was originally, I think, Link and Zelda is the name of the guy that made this, or the team that made this, so big credit to them. But yeah, go play this game.
So yeah, that has been me just rambling about Game Boy Advance games that I played growing up or played previously in my life. I love the Game Boy Advance. It's one of my favorite ever consoles. I feel like it was one of the first handheld consoles I got that was mine. Like I think at some stage, I think I had the Game Boy Color and then this. I had the original Game Boy and then the Game Boy Advance were bought specifically for me and were not hand-me-down consoles. So the Game Boy means quite a lot to me. Like I love everything about it. I love all the games. I wish I could collect all of the games. Some of them are so expensive. I've still got a few of my original boxes of like Pokemon games and things like that that I have. But yeah, like I love the Game Boy Advance. It's one of my favorite things, and I really hope that this video has just found someone that also really likes the Game Boy Advance as much as I do. If you have enjoyed this video, please leave a comment, leave a like. If you want to see more videos like this, please just drop a subscription or subscribe. Yeah, see you in the next video.